Blue Ocean Strategy by W. Chan Kim and RenA Mauborgne. Picture this: an old circus tent, paint peeling off its worn canvas, with only a handful of families scattered across the empty bleachers. For over 100 years, the circus had been slowly dying. Kids who once begged their parents to see the lion tamers and trapeze artists were now glued to video games and movie screens. The big names, Ringling Bros and Barnum and Bailey, were locked in a desperate fight over a shrinking crowd of children. They battled over the same tired things: whose clowns were funnier, whose acrobats were more daring, whose animals were more exotic. The math was brutal. Costs climbing, ticket sales dropping. It looked like curtains for the traveling circus. Then something extraordinary happened. In 1984, a ragtag group of street performers from Canada did the unthinkable. They didn't try to out-circus the circus giants. They didn't play by the old rules at all. They completely reimagined what a circus could be. Out went the animals, expensive and increasingly controversial. Gone were the star performers with their massive salaries, the chaotic three-ring setup, the cheap popcorn vendors working the aisles. In their place, something nobody had seen before: a single, mesmerizing story, artistic choreography, and music. An atmosphere that felt less like a dusty tent and more like stepping into a grand theater. They called it Cirque du Soleil. And here's the kicker: they didn't aim for kids. Their audience was adults, corporate clients, people willing to pay premium prices, not for a circus, but for an unforgettable experience. In less than 20 years, Cirque du Soleil matched the revenue that took the old circus giants over a century to achieve. They didn't beat the competition. They made the competition completely irrelevant. This story opens the door to one of the most revolutionary business ideas of our time, captured in the groundbreaking book Blue Ocean Strategy by W. Chan Kim and RenA Mauborgne. With over 4 million copies sold and translations in 46 languages, it's become a guiding light for entrepreneurs, leaders, and creators worldwide. The authors, two brilliant professors, spent over a decade studying more than 150 strategic moves across 30 industries, spanning more than 100 years. They discovered a pattern, a hidden logic, behind the greatest success stories. Lasting success rarely comes from battling competitors. It comes from creating new, uncontested market spaces, what they call blue oceans. Today, I'm going to share the secrets of that journey. By the end, you'll understand not just what a blue ocean is, but how to find and create one yourself. You'll learn a systematic framework for making your competition irrelevant, unlocking new demand, and building a future where you're not just playing the game, you're creating it. This is the story of how to stop competing and start creating. Ever feel like you're running on a treadmill, working harder and faster but not actually getting anywhere new? That's the daily reality for most businesses. They exist in what the authors call a red ocean. Imagine it, a vast ocean, dark red with the blood of fierce competition. Every industry we know today swims in these waters. The rules are set, the boundaries defined, and everyone's fighting over the same customers. Companies scramble to outperform rivals and grab a bigger slice of a limited pie. As the market gets crowded, the fight gets vicious. Products become commodities, profits shrink, and the water turns a deeper shade of red. Think about smartphones, fast food, airlines. Everyone's watching everyone else, matching features, slashing prices, spending millions on advertising just to stay afloat. It's an exhausting, head-to-head battle for survival. Traditional strategy teaches us to navigate this world. It gives us tools to fight better, to build stronger defenses around our little piece of the red ocean. But Kim and Mauborgne ask a revolutionary question. What if you didn't have to fight at all? What if, instead of battling in the bloody red ocean, you could simply swim away and find a blue ocean? A blue ocean is the complete opposite. It's unknown market space, untainted by competition. It's about creating industries that don't exist yet. In a blue ocean, you create demand rather than fight over it. There's immense opportunity for rapid, profitable growth. In a blue ocean, competition is irrelevant because you're writing the rules yourself. Cirque du Soleil didn't try to be a better circus in the red ocean. They created a blue ocean of theatrical entertainment, a market space entirely their own. Now, this might sound abstract, maybe even risky, like something only a once-in-a-generation visionary could pull off. But here's the beautiful core of blue ocean strategy. It's not about genius or luck. It's about a framework, a systematic, repeatable process anyone can use in any industry. The secret at the heart of it all is something called value innovation. This is one of the most important strategy concepts you'll ever learn, so let's really dig into it. Conventional thinking, the red ocean mindset, forces a trade-off. You can either create more value for customers at higher cost or reasonable value at lower cost. You have to choose, be Mercedes or be a budget car brand. You can't be both. That's the value-cost trade-off. Value innovation shatters this trade-off. It's the simultaneous pursuit of both differentiation and low cost. It's not about small improvements. Value innovation creates a leap in value for customers while simultaneously reducing your costs. It's finding a new way to solve a problem that's so much better and so much more affordable that it makes the old way obsolete. How is this even possible? Let's return to Cirque du Soleil. They achieved this by asking questions nobody else in the circus industry was asking. Instead of, how do we beat Ringling Bros?, they looked at every factor the circus industry competed on for a century and challenged each one. This led to a simple but profound framework called the 4 Actions Framework. It's your practical toolkit for achieving value innovation, built on 4 key questions. 1. Eliminate. Which factors that the industry takes for granted should be eliminated? 2. Reduce. Which factors should be reduced well below the industry's standard? 3. Raise. Which factors should be raised well above the industry's standard? 4. Create. Which factors should be created that the industry has never offered? Let's see how Cirque du Soleil used this. Eliminate. They cut the most expensive and controversial parts of traditional circus. Animal shows? Gone. Star performers with huge salaries? Gone. The confusing, costly 3-ring setup? Gone. Reduce. They toned down the slapstick comedy and made it more refined. They reduced the sense of danger, making it less heart-pounding spectacle and more enchanting performance. By eliminating and reducing these factors, Cirque du Soleil dramatically slashed costs. No more animal trainers, superstar salaries, or massive insurance policies. But they didn't stop there. They looked at a completely different industry, theater, to see what they could add. They elevated the venue itself. Instead of a cheap, dusty tent, they created a luxurious, comfortable environment reminiscent of an opera house. They glamorized the tent. Create. This is where magic happened. They introduced elements the circus world had never seen. A theme and storyline, giving the show intellectual and artistic depth. Artistic music and dance. Multiple productions, like Broadway shows, giving people a reason to come back again and again. By raising and creating these new factors, they offered an experience radically different and far more valuable to a new audience of adults. They created a leap in value. And because they'd ruthlessly cut costs by eliminating and reducing other factors, they could do all this while staying incredibly profitable. They broke the value-cost trade-off. They achieved both differentiation and low cost. That's value innovation in action. It's not about outcompeting. It's about reconstructing the very elements of your industry to create something new. To make this even clearer, the authors give us another brilliant tool, the strategy canvas. Imagine a simple graph. On the horizontal axis, list all the key factors an industry competes on. For wine, this might be price, complex terminology, vineyard prestige, and aging quality. On the vertical axis, plot the offering level for each factor, from low to high. When you plot the strategies of all major players in a red ocean, something striking appears. All their value curves look almost identical. Premium wines are high on every factor. Budget wines are low on every factor. They're all competing on the same things, just at different price points. Their strategies converge. They're different in the same way. A blue ocean strategy creates a value curve that looks completely different. It stands apart. It has focus, divergence, and a clear, compelling tagline. Let's look at another classic example from the book. A little Australian wine brand called Yellowtail. In the late 90s, the U.S. wine industry was a classic red ocean, intensely competitive, with thousands of wineries fighting for shelf space. The market intimidated average people. Wine labels were complicated, the taste was harsh for novices, and the sheer number of choices was overwhelming. The industry competed on tannins, oak, and vineyard history, things most people didn't understand or care about. The makers of Yellowtail, Casella Wines, didn't try to make a better wine by the industry's standards. They decided to create a blue ocean. They asked, why do most Americans, especially beer and cocktail drinkers, not drink wine? The answer, wine was intimidating, pretentious, and an acquired taste. So they used the 4 actions framework to create a completely new wine experience. Eliminate all the complex wine jargon from the bottle. No more talk of tannins or malolactic fermentation. They also eliminated aging requirements. This wine was meant to be drunk now. Reduce. They simplified the wine's taste, made it soft, sweet, and fruity, instantly accessible, more like a cocktail than traditional wine. They also dramatically reduced choices. Instead of dozens of varieties, they launched with just 2, Chardonnay and Shiraz. Raise. Interestingly, they didn't raise anything the traditional industry cared about, but they did partner with retail stores in a new way, making employees brand ambassadors. Create. They introduced 3 things entirely new to wine. First, easy drinkability. This wasn't a wine requiring years to appreciate. Second, ease of selection. With only 2 options and a simple, vibrant kangaroo label, the choice was effortless. Third, fun and adventure. The brand felt bold, laid back, Australian, the opposite of a stuffy French chateau. When you plot Yellowtail's strategy on a strategy canvas, its value curve looks nothing like other wines. It zigzags across the chart, low on traditional factors, but high on new ones nobody else competed on. It was focused, divergent, and had a compelling tagline, a fun, simple wine to be enjoyed every day. The result? Yellowtail became the fastest-growing wine brand in the history of both the Australian and U.S. wine industries. It didn't just steal customers from other wines, it grew the entire market by bringing in millions of non-wine drinkers. It created a massive blue ocean. So value innovation is the what, and the 4 actions framework and strategy canvas are the tools to design it. But this leads to the next big question. Where do you even begin looking for these opportunities? How do you find the right path to a blue ocean? This is where the authors provide another incredibly practical part of their framework, the 6 paths. These are 6 systematic ways of looking at the world to help you reconstruct market boundaries and discover new opportunities. Think of them as 6 different lenses to see what others miss. Path 1. Look across alternative industries. Companies don't just compete within their own industry, they compete with alternatives serving the same purpose. A movie theater doesn't just compete with other theaters, it competes with restaurants, bars, and staying home to watch Netflix. All are alternatives for a night out. A fantastic example is NetJets. They created the blue ocean of fractional jet ownership. Before NetJets, corporate executives needing to fly had 2 choices: fly first-class commercial or buy a multi-million-dollar private jet. These were the alternatives. NetJets looked at why people chose each one. People chose commercial for cost, avoiding the huge upfront jet investment. People chose private jets for speed, convenience, privacy, and direct point-to-point flying. NetJets created its blue ocean by combining the best of both worlds. They offered the convenience and speed of a private jet at a price closer to first-class commercial. How? By selling a fraction of a jet, say 1/16th ownership, entitling the owner to 50 hours of flight time yearly. They eliminated the massive fixed cost of ownership and management hassles while delivering core private travel benefits. They didn't compete with airlines or jet manufacturers. They created a new market in the space between them. Path 2. Look across strategic groups within an industry. Strategic groups are companies within an industry pursuing a similar strategy. In cars, you have luxury brands like Mercedes and BMW in one group, economy brands like Hyundai and Kia in another. They rarely pay attention to each other. Curves created a blue ocean in women's fitness by looking across 2 strategic groups: traditional expensive health clubs and low-cost home exercise programs. Why do women trade up to health clubs? Mainly for the discipline and motivation of working out with others. Why trade down to home programs? Privacy, convenience, and lower cost. Curves combined the best of both. They created a simple, no-frills workout space exclusively for women, offering the motivation of a group setting. But they eliminated all the expensive extras of traditional gyms: pools, juice bars, complicated equipment. The workout was a simple 30-minute circuit. This allowed them to offer membership for a fraction of gym prices. They captured key advantages of both strategic groups and created a new market for women uncomfortable in traditional gyms and unmotivated at home. Path 3. Look across the chain of buyers. In most industries, everyone focuses on the same target buyer, but in reality, there's a chain of buyers: the purchaser who pays, the user who actually uses the product, and the influencer whose opinion matters. Shifting focus from one buyer group to another can unlock huge opportunities. Novo Nordisk, a Danish insulin producer, did this beautifully. For decades, the pharmaceutical industry focused on doctors as key influencers. They competed to create pure insulin to please doctors. But Novo Nordisk shifted focus to the users, the patients themselves. They discovered that, for patients, the biggest problem wasn't insulin purity, it was the difficulty and embarrassment of administering it. The whole process of vials, needles, and syringes was complex and carried social stigma. So Novo Nordisk created the NovoPen, a user-friendly insulin delivery system that looked like a fountain pen. It was simple, discreet, and convenient. This transformed the company from just an insulin producer into a diabetes care company. By focusing on the user, not the influencer, they created a blue ocean they still dominate today. Path 4. Look across complementary products and services. Few products are used in a vacuum. Their value is often affected by what happens before, during and after use. Think about going to the movies. The value is affected by parking costs and hassle, and finding a babysitter. A movie theater solving those problems would create new value. A Hungarian bus company called NABI did this in the U.S. municipal bus industry. The industry was a red ocean, competing fiercely on initial purchase price. But NABI realized that for municipalities buying buses, purchase price was only a small part of total cost. The biggest costs came after purchase: maintenance, fuel, accident repairs, and rust over the bus's 12-year life. So NABI built a new kind of bus. Instead of heavy, rust-prone steel, they used lightweight, corrosion-free fiberglass. This killed 5 birds with 1 stone. The bus was lighter, so it used less fuel and was more environmentally friendly. It didn't rust, slashing maintenance costs. And it was easier and cheaper to repair after accidents. Even though NABI charged a higher initial price, total life cycle cost for municipalities was dramatically lower. They redefined the problem from "what's the cheapest bus to buy" to "what's the cheapest bus to own and operate." Path 5. Look across the functional or emotional appeal to buyers. Some industries compete on functionality and price. Their appeal is rational. Think cement or basic commodities. Other industries compete on feelings and emotion. Think fashion, cosmetics, or Starbucks. Their appeal is emotional. Blue oceans can be created by taking a functional industry and adding emotion, or by taking an emotional industry and making it more functional. QB House, a Japanese barbershop chain, did the latter. Getting a haircut in Japan was an emotional, hour-long ritual involving hot towels, shoulder massages, and tea. QB House recognized that many busy professionals didn't want the ritual, they just wanted a quick, decent haircut. So they stripped away all the emotional extras. They focused only on the cut, creating an air wash system, a vacuum hose to clean up stray hairs instead of time-consuming shampoo. They reduced time from 1 hour to 10 minutes, and price from around $30 to just $9. They turned an emotional service into a highly functional one, and created a massive blue ocean. On the flip side, Cimex, a Mexican cement company, took a purely functional product, a bag of cement, and injected emotion. They realized that for Mexico's poor, buying cement to add a room to their house was a dream, but hard to save for. So they created the Patrimonio Hoy program, positioning cement as the gift of dreams. It was a community savings club, like a wedding registry, where families contributed a small amount each week, and one family would win the materials to build a new room. Cimex turned the purchase of a functional commodity into an emotional, community-driven event, and sales soared. Path 6. Look across time. This final path is about looking at major trends already in motion and asking what the market will look like if that trend is taken to its logical conclusion. The key is that the trend must be decisive, irreversible, and have a clear trajectory. Apple did this masterfully with iTunes. In the late 90s, the trend of illegal digital music file sharing through services like Napster was undeniable. The music industry fought it, but the trend was clear. People wanted digital music instantly, and they wanted to buy individual songs, not entire albums. Apple looked at this trend and asked, what would a legal, user-friendly version look like? The result was the iTunes Music Store. They created a system that was legal, offered high-quality sound, was incredibly easy to use, and allowed people to buy single songs for just 99 cents. They captured all the value of the digital music trend while eliminating the drawbacks of illegal downloading, poor quality, viruses, and legal risk. They didn't invent digital music, but they saw the trajectory and created a blue ocean that shaped the future of the entire industry. These 6 paths are your treasure map. They show you where to look for opportunities your competitors are completely ignoring. They're a systematic way to challenge the assumptions keeping your industry locked in a red ocean. But finding a blue ocean idea is only half the battle. You also have to make sure it's commercially viable, that it can become a profitable and sustainable business. This brings us to the next crucial piece, the right strategic sequence. The authors lay out a 4-step process to validate your blue ocean idea and reduce business model risk. You must address these steps in order. Step 1. Buyer utility. Is there an exceptional reason for people to buy your offering? Does it remove a major pain point from their lives? If the answer isn't a clear, resounding yes, you don't have a blue ocean. You might have cool technology or a clever idea, but if it doesn't offer a leap in value to the buyer, it will fail. This is the first and most important hurdle. Step 2. Price. Is your price easily accessible to the mass of target buyers? This isn't just about setting a low price. It's about strategic pricing. The authors introduce a tool called the price corridor of the mass. This involves looking at the prices of alternatives and substitutes your customers use, and finding a price point that makes your offering an irresistible choice. Ford didn't price the Model T against other cars, he priced it against the horse and buggy, making it a choice the masses could afford. Step 3. Cost. Once you've set your strategic price, you must figure out your target cost. This is the principle of price minus costing, not cost plus pricing. You start with the price you need to attract the masses, deduct your desired profit margin, and that gives you your target cost. The question then becomes, can we produce our offering at this cost? This is where innovation in operations, manufacturing, and partnerships becomes critical. If you can't hit your target cost, your blue ocean won't be profitable. Step 4. Adoption. Even the most brilliant profitable idea can be derailed if you ignore the people who have to execute it or the partners who depend on you. What are the adoption hurdles? Will your employees resist the change? Will business partners feel threatened? Will the public oppose it? You have to address these fears and hurdles from the beginning, educating your stakeholders and bringing them along on the journey. Only when your idea passes through all 4 of these gates, utility, price, cost, and adoption, do you have a commercially viable blue ocean strategy. But even then, there's one final, perhaps most human challenge: execution. A strategy document, no matter how brilliant, is just paper. The real challenge is bringing an organization and its people along on a journey that represents a significant departure from the past. This is where the last 2 principles of blue ocean strategy come into play, and they're all about leadership and people. The first is what the authors call tipping point leadership. Conventional wisdom says that to create massive organizational change, you need massive resources and lots of time. But tipping point leadership flips this idea on its head. It argues that in any organization there are people, acts, and activities with disproportionate influence on performance. The key isn't to move the entire mass of your organization at once, but to focus efforts on these key leverage points to create a rapid, contagious movement, an epidemic of change. The book tells the incredible story of Bill Bratton, who became New York City's police commissioner in the 90s. At the time, the city was on the verge of anarchy. Crime was at an all-time high. The police force of 36,000 officers was demoralized, and the budget was frozen. It was a managerial nightmare. Yet in less than 2 years, without a budget increase, Bratton turned New York into the safest large city in America. How? By using tipping point leadership to overcome the 4 key hurdles to execution. First, the cognitive hurdle, making people aware of the need for change. Bratton didn't use numbers or PowerPoint. He made his senior officers ride the subway, the electric sewer as it was called, day and night. They came face to face with the graffiti, the turnstile jumpers, and the fear citizens felt every day. The ugly reality was inescapable. Seeing is believing. Second, the resource hurdle, executing a major shift with limited resources. Bratton didn't ask for more money, he refocused what he already had. He discovered that the vast majority of crimes occurred in a few hotspots, so he pulled officers from safe, quiet areas and concentrated them on these hotspots. He also found cold spots, activities consuming huge resources for little impact, like the 16 hours it took an officer to process a single arrest. He created bust buses, mobile processing centers that cut that time to 1 hour, freeing up thousands of hours of police time. Third, the motivational hurdle, getting people energized to execute the new strategy. Bratton focused on the kingpins, the 76 precinct commanders, who were key influencers in the organization. He put them in a fishbowl. Every 2 weeks, they had to attend a meeting where their performance was displayed on huge screens for all their peers and superiors to see. This created an intense culture of performance and accountability, where high achievers were celebrated and laggards had nowhere to hide. And fourth, the political hurdle, overcoming resistance from powerful vested interests. Bratton identified his angels, those who would gain from the change, like the mayor, and his devils, those who would lose, like the courts fearing being overwhelmed. He built a broad coalition with his angels to isolate his devils, winning political battles before they even started. By focusing on these points of disproportionate influence, Bratton created a tipping point that transformed the entire NYPD and the city itself. But there's one final piece to the execution puzzle, the one that ensures a strategy isn't just followed but embraced. This is the principle of fair process. This is the idea that people care not just about the outcomes of decisions, but about the fairness of the process used to make them. When people feel the process is fair, they develop trust and commitment. They go from compulsory execution to voluntary cooperation. They go beyond the call of duty. Fair process consists of 3 simple principles. The authors call them the 3 E's. 1. Engagement, involving people in the decisions that affect them, asking for their input and allowing them to challenge ideas. This shows respect for their intelligence. 2. Explanation, explaining why a final decision was made. Even if people's ideas aren't adopted, if they understand the rationale, they're far more likely to trust the decision. 3. Expectation clarity. Once a decision is made, making sure everyone knows the new rules of the game, the new standards they'll be judged by, and the consequences of failure. When these 3 principles are practiced, people feel recognized, both intellectually and emotionally. They feel their ideas are valued, and they're treated with dignity. This builds a powerful culture of trust. That's the bedrock of great execution. Without it, even the best strategy can be sabotaged by the very people you need to bring it to life. And so we come full circle. Blue Ocean strategy isn't just a theory about markets. It's a holistic philosophy for creation. It starts with a bold vision to make competition irrelevant, provides a practical toolkit to find and build that vision, and ends with a deeply human approach to leadership that inspires people to make that vision a reality. It's a journey from the bloody waters of the Red Ocean, filled with rivals and limits, to the clear, wide-open expanse of the Blue Ocean, a space of creation, of growth, and of new possibility. As we step back and look at the vast landscape of ideas presented in Blue Ocean strategy, what truly stands out is its profound sense of optimism. In a world that so often feels defined by scarcity and zero-sum competition, this book offers a powerful alternative. It reminds us that the limits of an industry aren't fixed, they're constructs of our own minds. And what we can imagine, we can create. The most powerful lesson, for me, is the shift in mindset from being a competitor to being a creator. The red ocean pulls you into a reactive state, constantly looking over your shoulder, benchmarking, trying to keep up. It's a game of inches, of marginal gains. But the blue ocean mindset is proactive. It encourages you to look at the world with fresh eyes, to see not what is, but what could be. It's about asking different questions, not how do we beat our rivals, but how do we make our rivals irrelevant by creating a leap in value for our customers. This isn't just a business lesson, it's a life lesson. It applies to your career, your personal projects, even your own development. Are you trying to be a slightly better version of someone else in a crowded field? Or are you trying to create a unique space where your specific talents can shine? The second thing that makes this book so enduring is its practicality. It's not high-minded philosophy with no grounding in reality, it's a toolkit. The strategy canvas, the 4 actions framework, the 6 paths, these aren't just concepts to discuss in a boardroom. They're practical tools you can pick up and use today. They give you a structured way to channel your creativity and turn a spark of an idea into a robust strategy. So how can you start applying these ideas in your own life right now? Here are a few simple actions to get you started. First, try sketching a quick strategy canvas for an industry you know well. It could be the coffee shops in your town, the video games you play, or the social media apps on your phone. What are the key factors they all compete on? Plot their value curves. You'll likely see how similar they all are. Now imagine a new curve. What could you eliminate, reduce, raise, or create to offer something completely different? This simple exercise can train your mind to see blue oceans everywhere. Second, apply the 4 actions framework to a product or service you use every day. Think about your experience with your bank, your cell phone provider, or even your school's cafeteria. What could they eliminate that's just a waste of time and money? What could they reduce that's over-engineered? What could they raise to a new level of quality or convenience? And what could they create that would solve a problem you didn't even know you had? This is the muscle of value innovation. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Finally, think about the non-customers. Pick a hobby or activity you love. Maybe it's playing chess, coding, or hiking. Now think about the 3 tiers of non-customers for that activity. Why are some people on the edge, about to quit? Why do others refuse to even try it? And why have some people never even considered it? If you could find the commonalities in their reasons, you might just discover a way to reinvent that activity and bring a whole new wave of people into it. Blue Ocean Strategy is more than a guide to winning in business. It's an invitation to think differently, to challenge the status quo, and to believe in the power of creation. It teaches us that the most powerful act isn't to fight over the existing world, but to build a new one. That was a summary of Blue Ocean Strategy by Kim and RenA Mauborgne. We've journeyed through the core ideas today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary can only ever be a map. The real treasure is found when you make the journey yourself. The true magic happens in the quiet moments of reading, when a particular story or simple phrase connects with your own experience in a way you never expected. This summary is designed to be your compass, to help you decide if this book is a journey worth taking. If anything we've talked about today has sparked a fire in you, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning, it's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see the world and your place in it. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable, I'd be so grateful if you would hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep growing together.